Welcome to Driving Maul, streaming live on Loud Radio every Thursday, 4 p.m. Central African time. Sharky.
I'm so excited that I stuffed my voice up.
No, I can hear the dulcet tones of Sean Lilford.
How are you, bud?
I'm alright, man. I'm actually quite excited. I know the rugby's continued through the holidays, but
no idea.
I'm not the greatest follower of European rugby, so I haven't really watched a hell of a lot, and I've been saving my time and energy for what's coming in 3 weeks.
Well, you've missed a hell of a lot, though. If you've been watching with one eye, it's been pretty decent. But Super Rugby gonna come any sooner.
And look, you talk about what I've missed, and I realised this in terms of when I was catching up with everything today. Plenty to chat about this week. We preview the Six Nations starting this weekend. We're going to chat Community Cup. No, we're not, because that's not for another month, so we won't worry about it. We're going to chat Varsity Cup as well as the Aussie Conference with Super Rugby in mind. With a mere 16 days until kickoff. We're going to do Aussie Conference this week, Kiwi Conference next week, South African Conference the week after. We're going to catch up on developments in the Heineken Cup, Aviva Premiership and the French Top 14. But first, it's time to talk sevens, because
this could take the whole show.
Really, it probably could. Before we get on to the IRB 7 circuit and what's been going on there in terms of the Emirates 7 circuit, we have to mention some developments within SA Rugby in the past 24 hours. SARU have offered centralised contracts to 15 of the women's 7 squad. A first for rugby in our country.
It is, and I take my hat off to them. Well done. That's quite a big step in the right direction. I think specifically for the Olympics. I think if it wasn't for the Olympics, we probably wouldn't be seeing this. But it's great. So now, we remember back in the day and many other times when you're breaking into sports and you look at all these tier 2 nations and the guys are running full-time jobs and then trying to play international and they've got to take leave for World Cups, etc. So now they're ladies are pros and they're getting paid, so hopefully we can build it. And
the precedent was set with because there's 3 or 4 guys in the men's 7 squad on centralised contracts. They're not actually affiliated to a union. And long may it continue, because it's also started to take effect in Europe with Sam Warburton becoming the first centralised Welsh rugby player in terms of a centralised contract. And with all the drama that's going on there in terms of where people are going to be playing their club rugby in competitions in terms of Heineken Cup, etc. That was an interesting move.
Just the club rugby in Europe in general is actually a talking point. Forget about who's playing for who. That's what I mean. Up in the air.
And the Welsh are now trying to keep as many of their players there as possible. By starting to centralise contracts. Will we see the same with the Boks? Time will tell. On to the sevens. Wow. How good is this Blitzbok defence under new coach Neil Powell?
Massive. I've never, and we've got the numbers here, but I've been saying it the whole time, there is no ways I've ever seen defence like that in my life. For a side to go on through to the final and win the final, but only concede 2 tries.
In 6 games of sevens rugby.
It's diabolical.
It's absolutely superb. And I mean, to be honest, I only actually caught one game, which was the semi-final win over Samoa, and they absolutely pulverised them on defence. As you say, they conceded a measly 2 tries in their 6 games, on their way to a second title of 2014, to go with a second and a third place in the other 2 tournaments that they've played in. They've now beaten New Zealand, the world's preeminent sevens outfit, 5 times in a row, and are now top the overall log. Tries for and against the season, and you talk about the defence. This is how they've improved. In the Australia tournament, they scored 22 and conceded 24, but only conceded 4 in the group phases. It was skewed slightly by a 47-0 thumping in the 3rd/4th playoff against England with a whole bunch of players out injured.
So sad.
But
hurt.
Dubai, 23-12 tries for and against. Only 3 conceded in the group phases, down from 4 in the first round. SA, when they played in PE a couple of weeks ago, 30 tries for, 4 tries against. Right? Only 2 conceded in the group phases. Vegas 25-2 with only 1 conceded in the group phases.
And 1 in the final.
Yeah.
And that's massive. And the defense, for the first time, there's 2 massive things to take out of this. If you watch the final against the Kiwis, you'll actually see the Kiwis at quite a few stages in that final looked a little bit worried. They were looking around for someone to do something. In terms of their game plan, they weren't really executing it too well. They may have lost belief, or they might have just been shell-shocked, but they weren't quite structured as normal. The other thing is with us beating them 5 times or 6 times in a row, the last times we've played them, they're not what they used to be anymore. not for us, not for the Blitzbokke. The guys are playing against them. They've got a history of beating them. They're starting to create a culture of beating them. Fiji, we can beat, and they can beat us. And the same with Samoa. We could possibly slip up to England and Australia in knockouts, and maybe the French, but they seem to be dropping off a little bit this year. But we're looking solid, and we're only a point ahead of New Zealand in the RB, the HSBC RB7's ranking, when we play Wellington this weekend, which is going to be a big one.
Absolutely. And the yellow cap is full of chirps on Twitter today. He says he's so glad SA Rugby took heed of his call to appoint a new coach for the Blitzbokke. Hope you're recovering well from your surgery, champ, and thanks for tuning in. It is Wellington this weekend. Sinatla and Roscoe Speckman are both out injured. They're being replaced by the Kenyan-born Jumbo Olengo and my new favourite player, Kwagga Smith, who I think is going to go from strength to strength in the sevens format with the way he plays the game. It's at 100 mile an hour, and he will run through a brick wall face first if it's required. Yeah,
he doesn't stop, and he's hard as nails. And we were actually just chatting about him this morning at breakfast, and I'm glad that Olengo's back. That guy's got so much pace, and we've been pushing him in the last couple of tournaments, and it's been quite evident that he's had a bit of an injury, so I hope he shakes it off. He's a typical Kenyan build. He's a big, strong guy, and he's got lots of gas, and I'm looking forward. He's going to offer the Sevens boys so much.
So the squad that's going to Wellington, and like you say, the big guy, and that's what's impressed about the defence, because the side has had the attacking skills for the last 3 or 4 years. There's never been any doubt that they can score tries, but they've shipped a lot of soft tries when I've been watching them. And to see the way they've gone from strength to strength over the tournaments. So Kyle Brown will be leading them in his 38th tournament. Chris Dry will be getting up to 33. I think he needs to get to 35 to get onto the honours roll in terms of tournaments played. Philip Snyman is 19th. Frankie Horn, 55th tournament.
And 700 of them in a row.
Yeah.
I think he might, although not all in a row, I think they might be.
He until he got injured halfway through last season, he'd played 50 in a row.
But no. The only thing he missed was the World Cup. He didn't miss a World Series.
No, you might be right.
So he's still on it.
You might be right. Kwagga Smith, as we said. Werner Koch, geez, isn't he big and strong?
Yes.
Scored the winning try in the final with the bus is full to the cover defender. Branko de Preer, Stefan Dippenaar, Justin Geduld, Cecil Africa, Sampi Maastricht, and then Jumbo Olengo. It's a pretty tidy side, that. Very.
Branko de Preer has impressed me quite a bit. He's taken on quite a large role, and he's been very good at executing it as well. Dippy's has been interesting. I was up in the air in terms of his selection and what he's gonna do and everything. He actually offers so much on the field, and he offers so much off the ball. He's not out and out pace, and he's not a massive tackler, but he's solid on defense, and he links well with the guys. And he's been quite a bit of a standout for me as well. I'm a bit bummed that we lost Sinatla because he's got so much gas, but Justin Geduld's got equally as much, and so does Olengo. Sampi Maastricht's also got gas. He's still going to, he's only played 6 tournaments. He's still going to get into his own, because when he comes on, he makes a difference every time. Yeah. Maybe not ready to kind of take that senior role just yet, but he's definitely will be up there.
So that kicks off on Friday. That doesn't make... Yeah, Friday. It's next week, not this week. 7th of Feb.
They left today.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me just make sure.
I'm confused. We shall find out shortly.
Oh, come on. Now everything's frozen. Anyway.
Cool, go on. I'll get you...
It's definitely 7 Feb.
Okay.
So it's in a week's
Same
time.
As Cape Town 10s.
And South Africa will be Wales, Portugal and England in their pool. Varsity Cup kicks off this week. That much I know. Next week, Monday. First rounds. Some changes this year. The bottom side will automatically be relegated to the Varsity Shield.
Did that not happen last year?
No.
Was it a playoff?
Nope. There was nothing.
No. But they when there's a promo relegation, they give the guys 1 year. So what happens is now the guys who came up last year were given 1 year to settle and grow, and then it came a dropout. So I think they'll every 2 years there's a promo relegation, if I'm not mistaken.
So there you have it. So the Varsity Shield winner will come up, and then there'll also be a promotion relegation between 7th and 2nd. 7th in the Varsity Cup and 2nd in the Varsity Shield. They're, as usual, using their different scoring system to the regular one. Tries worth 5 points as usual. Conversions 3, penalties and drops will only be worth 2 points. They will have 2 referees this year on the field at all times.
Will it be one in each half, or
Yes.
how will they be both managing the breakdown?
It must be together, otherwise it's pointless. One I could can you imagine the team dominating, the other ref just stands on the halfway line scratching his balls.
Having a cup of tea, excuse me. But maybe, excuse me, sorry. Maybe there'll be one on either side
Of the breakdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Look, we'll
defending
see.
and attacking.
Hopefully that it works, because I mean they've been innovative in this competition over the years, and it'll be worth seeing if 2 refs on the field does make a difference. Props.
Who's the senior ref? Sorry, and who becomes the senior ref?
Oh, very valid point. There must be like a pink cap and a blue cap.
Oh, brilliant.
Props jerseys also feature a special gripping patch to ensure better binding. Just harden up, man. What the hell?
Yeah, the whole thing is they just want to make it safer, and I think that's the whole thing. And
In theory, it's supposed to reduce the collapsing of the scrums. We will see. But the one that I'm looking forward to is the mark being extended to anywhere on the field. So Lord help a halfback with a box kick behind his scrum in his own 22 that shanks his kick and it only goes 4 meters, because you could take a mark in the opposition 22 and run the ball.
do you know where we're going to see the most action out of this? Is at the Green Mile at UCT, with the wind that comes through there. Because the wind runs across the park, so it could be, sometimes it's into your face, but it's often across. But that could, you could put in a massive kick. There are times there where you're just sitting in your own half all day, and the only time you're going to get saved is if you're going to be kicking the ball. So it's going to be, sure. I'm quite excited to see it. I don't really have any major issues on it. I think it's going to change the game massively.
I'm looking forward to it because it's certainly going to speed play up, and it's going to get rid of those aimless kicks downfield. You know the ones I'm talking about, where it's just you kick, I'll kick, you kick, I'll kick, you kick, I'll kick. Eventually someone will knock it on and then we'll get a scrum. Now we just get a mark and let's go. First game of the season, the Madibas are taking on Knighties in PE. Upset on the cards there.
If there's ever going to be an upset, it's going to be the first game, and that'll be it. I think NMMU did so well last year. They, for the last 2 years they've been building. I'm not sure what they're looking like at the moment. It's an unfortunate thing is most of the guys kind of only really come into view for the regular spectator once the tournament starts. But it's a great time to upset Marties, and for them to get a win to start off their campaign would be massive.
And then Tix have got UJ in the second game, Shimla's Wits, and then the late game on Monday, Ikeys play Puka at UCT. So if you're in Cape Town, get down there. It's always a festive experience, and well worth the eye candy. Massive setup. The Ikeys for the last 2 years have really been below par. Average to shit. They really haven't been good. And up against Puka, who massive and always up for a fight and very keen to. They're happy to win away from home too. So maybe we should pop down and have a look. I'm going to try if I can get out of the house.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. We are going to take a music break. We're going to listen to a little bit of Guns N' Roses Paradise City just to follow up on the Prodigy Firestarter to get us in the mood for rugby this year. And when we get back, we are going to preview the Aussie Conference, who's gone where, who's moved what, and who's expected to do what in that neck of the woods. We'll chat to you after this. You're listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio, where blokes judge rugby.
Righty.
Welcome back to Driving Maul on Loud Radio, edition 1 of 2014, and it's time to talk a little bit of Super Rugby. But before we do that, we forgot to mention kudos to the Canadian Sevens team, our team of the week, for their effort to reach their first ever Sevens Circuit semi-final. And then ended up finishing third as well, just to round it off nicely by beating Samoa in the fourth playoff. I'm pretty sure a good friend of this show, Jeb Sinclair, was up until the wee hours watching that one.
Massive result for them. It's the first time in 14 years that they made a semi-final of the cup, and I'm not sure whether I can give the team of the tournament to the Blitzbook or to the Canadians, but by far an unbelievable performance. Canadian Twitter was going off its nana for like hours and hours and hours afterwards, so it was good to see. But they need that kind of thing, and let's be honest, none of us would have picked that at all. So well done to them, and let's see how they hold up next week.
Indeed. Right, on to the Aussies Super Rugby Conference. The the one most of us don't really enjoy, and that's why we're getting it out the way like fully 16 days before the competition starts. Although, to be honest, they don't even play for another 3 weeks anyway. Just some news out of the squads in terms of props. Dan Palmer has moved to Grenoble, so they only have 4 props at the moment.
Grenoble.
Oh, whatever. Noble. Ben Alexander, Rudry Murphy, Scott Seo and Ruan Smith is part of the extended playing squad. Ruan Smith is that youngster who's...
South African, they're twins. Him and his brother are in the squad. They come from Stellenbosch.
Yeah, and they've been...
Surprise! Yeah,
they were raised here and then raised there and then came back here and played SA schools and played Australian schools, and so they can both play for both.
Yeah, in fairness, it's not like they were lost. They spent quite a bit of time in Oz and came back, but... chatting to a couple of the Marty's guys, they said the guys are machines, but we look forward to seeing how they step up.
And then in the hooking department, Stephen Moore and Sylvia are obviously their first choices, with Joshua Man Ray in the mix. Locke, Sam Carter, Scott Fardy and Etienne Oosthuizen, the South African, who has left to go to the Sharks. He was playing for them on the weekend against Saracens.
Yeah.
Jake White took him to the Brumbies, and now he's brought him back to the Sharks.
Which way has he gone? Okay, so
so to replace him, they have brought Jack Wetton in from Auckland. And then in terms of their flanks from last year, Colby Fainga has gone to the Rebels. Peter Kimlin has gone to Grenoble,
bro.
And George Smith's obviously returned to Suntory Goliath. So it's Foto Alua, David Pocock, Jordan Smiler and Aita Vaea are the flankers. Ben Moen is the 8th man. Jared Butler has been brought in from the Reds as well to increase their playing squad. Mark Swanepoel has gone to Tasman to play in the ITM Cup.
South African born, but spent plenty of time in Australia. He's I think he's been there since primary school, but is he not back in for the Brumbies for the Super Rugby?
Nope.
Oh, interesting.
And then Ian Pryor has gone to the Force, with Conrad Hoffman signing from Hammies to join the Brumbies, along with Lionel Cronier, who's basically gone Stormers, Bulls, Lions, Brumbies in the last 3 years.
Ex-Hammies boy as well. His brother's still playing for us at Scrum Off, but massive. I'm glad for Conrad Hoffman. When he left here, everyone was up in arms. I spoke to one of our physios, was actually looking after the province age groups, and she said that he would go exceptionally far. He went to the Sharks, picked up a few injuries, kind of wandered off a little bit, came back. My understanding was he wasn't interested in playing rugby at all. He got an offer in France and somewhere else, and then somehow got back in and played a bit for Hammies, and now he's up there, and just following on his tweets and whatnot, he seems to be having a good time. There's obviously a few South Africans there, so kind of makes the homesickness a little less painful. Well,
I mean, it's a bit of a trend in terms of South African rugby players going to play in Australia at the moment, and Japanese. Another Jap is going to be playing in Super Rugby. Harumichi Tatikawa is a fly half who has joined the Brumbies. Zach Holmes, who looks like a promising talent, has gone to the Force. Pretty decent signing by the Force. Tom Cox has been released in terms of their wingers. And then obviously in the coaching department, Jake White is with the Sharks. Haven't quite figured out how that's all working, because there was all the talk about the new Sharks coaching, Brad McLeod Henderson, whatever his name is, and suddenly Jake White seems to be pulling all the strings there. Stephen Larkham is the new Brumbies coach. On to the Force. Brumbies, you can probably expect them to be up there challenging for the conference title again this year, based on the way they went last year. Can't see them falling off the pace. They seem to have strengthened their squad rather than weakened it.
I think it's about keeping the core together, and everyone, and mostly of the South Africans, want to praise Jake White and think, the Brumbies are going to fall apart because Jake's not there. But Jake White always puts processes and big plans and foundations in place. So if they keep up with most of that, and obviously the guys will be forging their own way in terms of the coaching department, but they're looking pretty solid. They're quite exciting. They've got a number of massive names. I mean, Lia Lifano, Jesse Mogg, Stephen Moore, the guys that have been week in and week out for
most of them first choice Wallabies for most of last year. So.
And looking for them to put in a massive shot this year. I think they'll definitely be up there. I think possibly the Waratahs.
And the Reds. Don't discount the Reds. The Force have been basically a transfer merry-go-round in the off-season. Salisi Mafu, the prop, has gone to Northampton Saints. Chris Heiberg has come in from the Stormers. James Hildebrand and Ben Whittaker, the hookers, have disappeared. Nathan Charles and Heath Tasman are the first-choice hookers, both of whom were injured last year and didn't play much, so obviously it's like getting 2 new hookers. Toby Lynn and Rory Walton have also moved. Wilhelm Steenkamp comes in as the lock replacement there. Flank replacement, Richard Brown has gone to play his rugby in Japan with the Honda Heat. Bernard Stander from the Sharks comes in there.
Isn't he a Lucy? He's a Lucy, isn't he? I'm not sure.
Yeah, flank. Lachlan McCaffrey, the number 8, has moved to the Brumbies extended playing squad. Chris Eaton, Brett Sheehan and Michael Snowden, the scrum halves, have been released, and Sheehan has gone to Wasps. Ian Pryor has come in from the Brumbies to join Albie Mathewson as the 2 pivots there.
Albie Mathewson had a great year last year. He was quite exciting. It was good to see him. He's obviously a Kiwi. He's a Kiwi, and he's got that sort of zing about him. But I thought he did exceptionally well at the end of the year to stabilise the force.
Yeah.
Force.
Yes. Sam Christie's been released. Zach Holmes brought in at fly half for the Brumbies to join C.S. Eberson and Kyle Godwin in the Safa and the Zimbabwean. Centres. Ben Jacobs has gone to the Wasps. Winston Stanley's gone to the Highlanders. Good move by the Highlanders, especially after losing Nonu back to the Blues. Will Tupua has been released. Marcel Brachy comes in from Province and the Stormers to become a centre option at the Brumbies, at the Force, and eyeing a World Cup spot with the American Eagles.
Definitely. We spoke about it last year. He signed a 2-year contract with them, which will release him up before the World Cup. If I'm not mistaken, his contract ends just before. So yeah, I think he just needs to get some more time and some more time on TV and whatnot, and he's in with a big shot.
And then Alfie Murphy's gone to Breve with Dane Haylett-Petty coming in from Biarritz. Not often you see players coming back from Europe to play in Super Rugby, but that's the case. Luke Morahan has come from the Reds. Sam Norton-Knight has gone to the Spears. Look, the Force are just going to make up numbers and offer free
Sam
points.
Sam Norton-Knight has gone where?
To the Kubota Spears.
Oh.
And then Michael Foley's obviously still the coach. The Force are just going to make up numbers and provide bonus point wins inside the Aussie Conference all season long. The Rebels, Nick Henderson is retired at prop. Toby Smith has been brought in from the Chiefs, and Max Lahif from the London Irish. So that's 2 there. Jed Robinson has gone to Hawke's Bay. Tom Sexton has been brought in from Leinster, with Shota Hori becoming the 2 hooker choices there. James King's been released. There's no other changes in terms of the locks for the Rebels. Tim Davidson's retired. Jared Safi has gone to US Bresson, which I'm assuming is a French second-tier side. Colby Fainga has joined them.
South African-born Safi.
Yes. Colby Fainga has moved from the Brumbies to the Rebels, looking to get more first starting game time, really. Gareth Delve has gone to the Green Rockets in Japan. Lopeti Tamani has joined from the Waratahs. Nick Phipps has gone to the Waratahs. Luke Burgess and Nick Sturziker are the 2 halfback options there. James Hilgendorf has been released. Angus Roberts, the only fly-half choice at the moment. James O'Connor obviously gone to London Irish. Rory Sidey's been released. Tamati Ellison has been brought in from the Highlanders.
Well, an interesting thing around James O'Connor is there was big talk about him going to Toulon, and then I saw someone say
Toulon,
that
basically, his manager said it's not true. They're
and that it's
negotiating
been
with a whole
signed.
bunch.
And then AOU came out and said that he signed a contract with them. So
yeah, who knows? He
will want to play in the World Cup, and he won't sign a long-term deal with anyone. He would want. He's definitely wants to make himself available, and I know the Aussies will take him. I think Link would love to have him there in the Aussie setup. At least he's very explosive, and we all know what he can do. We all know what he can't as well. But
yeah, we all know what he can do on his days off as well. Richard King, he's gone to Stade Francais. Cooper Vuna has gone to Toshiba Brave Lupus, and Kimami Satuati has been released. Tom Kingston comes in from the Waratahs, and Tulusi Viono from the Crusaders. Good move that. He impressed in the ITM Cup. So we'll see what's going on there. Curtly Beale's obviously gone to the Waratahs. Damien Hill's been released. And Tony McGahn has been brought in from the Australian national team to be the coaching coordinator, basically. So Damien Hill's been released and Tony McGann is the new coach there. The Reds, no changes in the prop department. Ben Daly, Greg Holmes, John Owen, James Slipper. Hooker, Albert Anai, Saifa Inga, James Hansen, nothing changed there. Adam Wallace-Harrison is retired. They haven't brought any locks in. Nigel Iwang has gone to the Coca-Cola West Red Sparks, which I'm assuming is a Japanese second-tier side. Jared Butler's gone to the Brumbies. Radiki Sama has gone to the Kenetsua Liners. John O'Lance has gone to the Waratahs. Dig Bayoni's gone to Stade Francais. And the first name to actually come back into the Red squad, Lachlan Turner, has joined from the Waratahs. Luke Morahan's gone to the First. Jamie Jerry Tuolagi from the University of Queensland comes in the fullback player. So they've only brought in 2 guys in their squad. The rest of it looks the same as last year. Last year, they literally brought 1 name in. So the Reds quite consistent. And then obviously they needed a new coaching setup. And Richard Graham, who was brought from the Force at the end of last year, is the coach there. The Waratahs, sneaky outside bet here for a playoff spot. They seem to be building quite well. But they've cleaned house. Richard Ahoy has gone to Beziers. Damien Fitzpatrick to Lyon. Luke Holmes released. John Uliaga has gone to Brisson. Tolo Lautu from Sydney University brought in. Seteleki Tamani's moved to Montpellier. Jacques Potgieter has come in from the Bulls. Nick Phipps from the Rebels. John O'Lance from the Reds. Tom Carter has retired.
Thank you, God.
Tom Kingston to the Rebels, Drew Mitchell obviously to Toulon, and then Kurtley Beale in from the Rebels. Look, it's going to be a 3-way shout for top spot in this one between the Tars, the Reds and the Brumbies. I'm still going to go with the Brumbies edging it and the Waratahs disappointing and the Reds just maybe getting a playoff spot. The Rebels and the Force will be fighting with the Lions for the wooden spoon.
I think the Tars and Brumbies will be fighting out number 1, and I think they'll both make it through the playoffs.
There you go. We were going to go on a music break, but we've eaten into it by talking all that.
Yes, because he doesn't stop sometimes.
Yeah.
It's boring when they just read, don't you think?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Right, we're going to jump into
Aviva Premiership.
Yeah, basically their guys are going on a break now. I mean, the LV Cup's on at the moment, which is... I was actually a bit confused as to what it was. It's basically their version of what would be a Vodacom Cup, and they play it on Six Nations weekends.
Yes, and
so it's a lot of youngsters.
And they also don't play any in the 2 weeks building up because they actually haven't played any Aviva Premiership since the first week of January.
Yeah,
Bit of transfer news just to keep going on that. Harlequins have signed Marlon Yard on a 2-year deal from London Irish. Wasps have signed Brett Sheehan, as we said, until the end of the season to cover at halfback after an injury to Jerk Motes. And then Chiefs wing Alasana Tikaratuma will join Alapati Leao as they're both set to leave the Hurricanes and the Chiefs respectively to join Wasps. And then Zach Guilford, Clement, and Waikato captain and Blues midfielder Jackson Willison has gone to Grenoble at the end of Super Rugby season. Expect more moves from the South though, because the Aviva Premiership salary caps will rise to 5 million from the start of next season. Up from
Saracens are a bit stumped at the moment. Yeah. Well, what do you mean it's going up to 5,000? Wasn't it higher?
Basically, they get a 4.76 million cap, and then one marquee player with an allowance that they're allowed, and then 240,000 for academy credits, and there's a whole bunch of other things. Then this after the French clubs announced a new bumper broadcast, which actually just makes Super Rugby pale into comparison in terms of that deal. We'll talk about it when we get to the top 14. But yeah, just in terms of the Aviva Premiership, like you were saying, Saris are still top.
Top 4. It's Saris, Saints, and Bath and Harlequins. Leicester Tigers are equal with Quins, but sitting in 5th. London Wasps are sitting just 1 point behind Tigers, so they're a win away from making playoffs, which is quite a surprise considering. As
are Sale and Exeter. I mean, it's quite tight down there for the 4th spot.
It's crazy, but I tell you, the big thing for me is Marlon Yard moving away from Sale, from Irish and going to Quins. I think it's a massive move for them. Quins will always be up there, and with the likes of hit a bit of a blank here at Flower. Nick Evans at Flower. He's always making things and always looking to unleash his wingers. So that'll be good. But it's Saracens are 3 points ahead on first with on 50, Saints on 47, and then it's 11-point drop to Bath in third. So 1 and 2 is pretty much sorted.
And then it's only 8 points between 3rd and 7th.
Yeah. So we're in for a big
8th.
Big fight. Worcester Warriors are pretty much done. They're going to get relegated. They've played 12 games. They haven't won one. They've only got 3 bonus points.
And then Irish and the Falcons are thrashing it out for that relegation playoff.
Only one goes, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yes, the playoff.
Yeah.
I'm actually not too familiar. I'll brush up on that. But that's it's taken a bit of a back seat, and there's so much else going on with the England side, which we'll touch on just now.
But now here's the weird one, because the Six Nations is this weekend and next weekend.
Correct.
And Aviva Premiership starts again next weekend.
And so does Top 14.
Yes.
Yeah, they always have a week off and then they don't. I think it's good because it's a great opportunity for the smaller sides to make a little bit of a move where the likes of Wasps can try and roll one of the bigger boys, because they're a little bit headless chickens, with a lot of the guys having maybe been pushed up into the national side. The likes of the Falcons, Irish, Gloucester have lost 2 guys, their 2 most important guys, Billy Twelvetrees and Johnny May. They're starting this weekend, but it's going to be interesting. But it's always it's a week off, week on, which makes it fun.
On to the French top 14, and as we alluded to, there's a new TV deal that's been brokered for 4 years, averages out at 71 million euros to be spread across the teams in the top 14, up from the 32 million euros a year that they had currently. So it's more than doubled, which means you're going to see plenty more big name signings for the French outfits. Lee Halfpenny switched to Toulon, is reportedly close to being confirmed. 480,000 euros a year to play for the top 14 Giants.
Crazy.
James O'Connor, as we said, remains in negotiations with several European clubs with a view to returning to Australia for 2015, but reports that he signed a 3-year deal with Toulon are incorrect according to his management. Results from this weekend, in fact,
some big results and more home side domination. It's we did speak about it probably in the 8th round of the tournament, and 8th or 9th round, and the away win percentage was 8%. But then you get a side like Brive, who are in 9th position, beating Toulon 23-10. And Toulon sent out a strong side, but Toulon are not doing exceptionally well.
What about Bayonne beating Clermont-Auvergne 18-9?
I know, it's crazy. So Racing Metro beat Toulouse 25-5. I watched the game. Great play by Racing Metro. They really played exceptionally well. Bayonne beat Clermont 18-9. Grenoble beat Perpignan 25-19. Montpellier beat Bordeaux 28-23, which is quite tight considering Montpellier are in 5th and Bordeaux in 10th. Close on an away win. Brive beat Toulon 23-10. And then on the Friday, Stade Francais beat Castres 32-6, which is also a massive result considering Castres were trying to, get up and move. They could have moved into second if they'd won that. But
then we jump back to the previous round, which was 2 or 3 weeks earlier, because there were a couple of upsets in this one as well. Grenoble 22-21 against Toulon in Toulon.
Massive.
INA must have been a cracker, this one. 6-0 over Racing Metro. Okay? Can you imagine?
I wish I'd watched that.
And then Toulouse beat Clermont 19-12. So Clermont have gone back-to-back, as have Toulon in terms of losses. Yeah. And what it means on the log is that you've got this weird thing where these sides that are spending millions on all these superstars. Toulon are 7th, Toulouse are 6th. Okay, it's quite tight. I mean, it's 10 points.
And Racing Metro 8th, and Racing Metro spend more money than any other French side. So
okay, it's only 10 points between 1st and 8th. So like 2 wins and it could all change around. But Stade Francais topped the log on 52 points. Clermont, as we said, on 50. Still unbeaten at home in like 75,000 games of rugby. Castres are heading back up there looking to defend their title. Grenoble. Who'd have think?
In 4th, and they're pushing for a playoff. I'll try and see if I can find out where they finished last year, but that's a huge, considering they're above Montpellier, Toulouse, Toulon, Racing Metro. Massive.
And as we said, that's on a break this weekend because the Six Nations is on. But yeah, the one that's got me is that extra 30 million euros a year to go to 14 clubs. So that's an extra 2 million euros a year to each club.
Crazy,
right? That's five players each, based on the 400,000 euros a season that Lee Halfpenny's going to be getting. ridiculous.
I was slightly confused as to where Bree finished last year because I couldn't remember them playing. They were promoted last year, and now they're sitting in fourth.
No, Grenoble are fourth.
Sorry, Grenoble finished fourth from bottom last year, and now they're fourth from top. Sorry, I was very confused by that.
That's okay, Sharky.
A little bit sick. Medicine's doing the job, clearly.
We are going to take a little music break. A little bit of Deep Purple, nasty piece of work. And when we come back, we're going to build up to the Six Nations, which kicks off this weekend. Make sure you've tracked down Judge Rugby's Super Brew Pool. There's some awesome prizes, compliments to Cybersmart. You're listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio, where Blokes Judge Rugby. We'll be back after this.
Six Nations, the Southern Hemisphere is taking a little bit of a backseat to this. Stuart Lancaster naming a quite an understrength backline.
Understrength?
Okay.
Gary Baverstock just tweeted us, from 11 to 14, England have 9 caps, and Billy 12 Trees has 8 of them.
Yes, about that. But just a few stats, and just leading into Six Nations. Six Nations is what started off as the Home Nations competition, is the oldest rugby tournament that was ever played, and started in 1883. In 1910 it became the Five Nations, and then obviously the Six Nations as we know it. There are a number of other trophies played within the tournament. One that we all know about, obviously the Calcutta Cup, that's England versus Scotland. The Centenary Quake, which is Scotland versus Ireland. The Giuseppe Garibaldi Trophy, which is France, Italy, and then
Garibaldi.
Yep. And then the Millennium Trophy, which is England and Ireland. So there are quite a few things playing in between. I know South Africa and Australia play for the Mandela Cup, and obviously the Bledisloe Cup's played in between Australia and New Zealand. And then an interesting little thing that I picked up, the team with the most wooden spoons. Now, I've taken Italy and France out of the mix because obviously they haven't played as much, from the initial start of it. The team leading the wooden spoons from 1883, Ireland with 36.
Wow, I would not have said that. I'd have gone Scotland.
Second is Scotland with 32. Then it's England with 25, and then Wales with 21.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know, that's some interesting reading. Interestingly enough, Italy have got 9 in total, and I think they've been playing for 10 years. They didn't get one last year.
Yeah, France got it.
Yes.
Just a few other stats. Brian O'Driscoll should pass George Gregan as the most cap test player of all time in the Six Nations. He needs 3 to join him, 4 to pass him. Bortolami of Italy needs 1 to become the 5th Italian to 100. Donna O'Callaghan needs 2 to become the 4th Irishman. Paul O'Connell needs 5 to join him. And Adam Jones needs 6 to become the 5th Welshman.
That's massive, and it's not like they play so much more rugby than we do. And fair enough, we missed out a lot of rugby, but in this era, the professional era, everyone's been playing pretty much the same amount.
These oaks have got 10, 12-year careers behind them.
And it's huge. And you look like O'Driscoll. You would still now start O'Driscoll in probably 80% of every guy's World 15. You'd probably start O'Driscoll. He's great. He's hitting some
unless
good
you're Warren Gatland.
Correct. But he's been having a great couple of last few games for Ireland.
It's a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, but when he goes off hard though.
Fixtures first round this weekend. It's Wales Italy at
Millennium Stadium.
Yeah, Millennium Stadium at 2:30 local time. So that's 4:30 South African time. France England at 7 o'clock South African time. And then on Sunday, Ireland, Scotland, Lansdowne Road. Also a 5 o'clock kickoff there.
Just a correction, it's 8 o'clock France, England on Saturday.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's the game, for me, the game of the weekend, France, England. I had some stats which I wanted to read through to you in terms of most points and stuff like that, which unfortunately my laptop died. So and
then obviously it's a double header because the following week, just so that we're clear in terms of who's going where, Ireland will play Wales in a repeat of last year's absolute cracker. That was probably one of the games of the season for me.
Or I don't know, the game of the season was the last one where Wales destroyed England for me.
Yeah, no. But that would for entertainment value, the both are up there because we always like to see the English get Garretts. Scotland play England at Murrayfield, and then France Italy on Sunday. So those are the fixtures next weekend. On to France, England, because that's the biggest game of this week.
Yeah, that's the biggest game and the biggest talking point out of it. The interesting, out of the Wales-Italy game, we haven't received the Italian team sheet yet, but interestingly enough, Sam Warburton on the bench for Wales. They're looking pretty decent. They should roll Italy. I don't see Italy beating Wales. They're exceptionally strong, and they're definitely up with contenders. Could possibly win a Grand Slam this year.
Yeah,
France, England.
Warburton's still coming back from that shoulder injury that
Yeah.
kept him out towards the end of last year. And other news in that is Reece Priestland has been handed a start at fly-half ahead of Dan Bigger, who played most of the November tests.
Well, the two of them are their 1-2 fly-off combos. Selections and choices been for some time now, so it's great to have that little battle going up front, and the more they play, the more they'll grow, and that's going to help the Welsh.
And then Alan Wynne-Jones is going to captain the side with Warburton coming off the bench. Pretty solid Welsh side, to be honest. It basically looks like a Lions 15 as well, because it's Halfpenny, Cuthbert, Scott Williams and JB Roberts. Geez, that's a big centre combination. George North, Reece Priestland, Mike Phillips, Paul James, Hibbard Jones, Chartres, Wynne-Jones, Lydiot, Tipperick and Falatau. It's a spectacular back row when you consider that Warburton's not even in it. We don't know the Italian side. There was some... the only news out of that is Mirko Bergamasco is back after a year out to injury. And then we're going to keep an eye on Tommaso Allen, the nephew of Springbok and Scottish hooker John Allen. He's in their squad for the Six Nations. But yeah, France-England, this is the big one this weekend. And the French have handed a debut to Jules Plisson.
From Stade Francais, the fly-off.
Yeah.
Do you know that he wasn't initially in the French squad? The initial squad that was announced a few weeks ago. My understanding was he wasn't in it.
And then Trinduk was brought in as well because of injuries. He's not even in the squad for the first game.
I rate Francois Trinduk. I think he's pretty decent, but the French like messing around at 10. Strangely enough.
Thierry Dussutois injured, so Pascal Pape takes on the captaincy, and South African-born Bernard Leroux starts on the open side flank. Wesley, Fofana and Bastrido will offer some proper power in the centres. Geez, that tweet
Massive.
about if those England centres ran into the Welsh centres, but you chuck the French centres in there as well. It's earth-shattering stuff.
The thing, it's massive. And then if you look on the bench for the French, they've got Gaël Fickou, who we've been chatting about for a while. He's been absolutely brilliant. They've got Dimitri Salzevski on the bench, Machino, Shuli. They've got a solid side.
And then Kaiser and Leroux, the two South Africans in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and then you look at, the big thing for me is they're playing in France. The only way they're trying to get the French rattled out of this game is by telling them that the Lions hangover will always bring a French win. And the last 3 times the year after Lions tour, the French have won the Six Nations. Or the last 4 times, if I'm not mistaken, and 3 of them have been Grand Slams. So I don't see them Grand Slamming this year. I did pick them to win it last year, and they got the wooden spoon, so I'm going to keep my mouth relatively quiet. But the big thing is England, and we're chatting about Lancaster, and I still spoke about it quite a bit when he selected his squad and he made some decisions to bring some youngsters in. And I'm thinking, it's 2 years before the World Cup. What do you? You're right. It's less than 20 months. What are you gonna do? Are you looking to blood so if there are injuries you can help them come through? I don't know what's going on, but got some exciting guys. But
sure, but the biggest news is Chris Ashton has been dropped completely from the 23.
He deserves it.
Young Exeter winger Jack Knoll comes in for his first test on debut. 20 years old, enjoying a growing reputation in the game after some inspired performances, but hasn't scored a try yet this season.
No, and coming off a English win for the juniors last year, so he's been doing pretty well. He's very exciting. Actually, I picked that up off Vince on Twitter, and I didn't realize that he hadn't scored. But every time I've watched him, he's very alive on the ball. And you've got him on the one wing, and you've got Johnny May on the other wing. And we all know I selected Johnny May as a little outside shout for the Lions tour last year. That guy's got gas. He's
getting his second cap on Saturday.
Yeah, he's run the 100 at 10.7 before. His preferred position is outside centre. So they've got a lot of cover, and they got some big centres.
But then the other debutant is Leroy Burrell at 13 with Brad Barrett, who we thought wouldn't make it back for the Six Nations, is fit but playing on off the bench. So it's on debut. At 11, Johnny May with 1 cap, Billy 12trees with 8 at 12, Leroy Burrell none at 13, and Jack Noel none at 14. Mike Brown, slightly more experienced, Owen Farrell and Danny Kerr obviously in the mix. And then the pack looks pretty much like it has for the last 2 or 3 seasons under Lancaster, so no real surprises there. Dave Atwood, Henry Thomas are the new names on the bench as well.
My 2 picks of players to watch, and the 2 that I'm most happy to see in the England starting lineup, are Danny Kerr and Johnny May. I think Danny Kerr always keeps the game alive. I think he might save an inexperienced backline by creating more space for them. And their forwards obviously are going to create that foundation.
But
the French are going to come out firing.
And Danny Kerr and Lee Dixon being in the squad means Ben Youngs, who went on tour with the Lions, isn't even in the England squad for Saturday. They're playing in France.
It's gonna be huge. Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Stade Francais.
I'm struggling to pick. I'm gonna have to make a pick for my Six Nations. Just while we're on the topic of Six Nations, for all you guys playing Super Brew, been quite happy to announce that CyberSmart have come on board in giving some prizes for the Six Nations Super Brew poll. It's Judge Rugby poll as pool, and every yellow cap will get 3 months, 10 gig of
10 gigs of data a month for 3 months.
For 3 months, and then we have an overall winner who will get a year of 10 gigs per month.
Terms and conditions: you need to have an ADSL line, you need to reside in South Africa, and you need to be able to use the internet.
The interweb. But that's up and running. So we gotta make some selections. It's still going to be a tough call because everyone thinks England are gonna do well. But the more you look at it and the more you look at the numbers, it's tough.
And then on to Ireland, Scotland. We don't have any Irish team users yet. We do know that Simon Zebo is out for the first few rounds, but we can chat about a few new faces. Isaac Boss has got a couple of caps already, but he's a Kiwi that's in on the side. Dave Kearney, brother of Rob Kearney, is into the mix. Rodney Ayew, an Islander by descent, is in the squad, and Province's own Robbie Dyack is in the mix for the Irish squad.
He's just signed up. He's just extended his contract with Munster for another 3 years. So he's sorry. Well, is it Dyke or no? CJ Stunder has also Dykes with Ulster. Apologies, but Robbie CJ Stunder has also now increased his contract for 3 years with Munster
and committed to playing for Ireland.
So
said as much. He basically, quote unquote, I'm going to try my damnedest to get in the squad. They take on Scotland. Stuart Hogg is one of 4 changes in the side, back from injury at fullback. Look, we haven't seen the Irish side, but it's pretty much Brian O'Driscoll's swan song season, and you can't see him going much past this year. And he'd obviously dearly love to get his hands on a Six Nations trophy.
He would like a few trophies, some Grand Slams and whatnot going on, but it's massive. And I don't know. I don't think Scotland. I think Scotland will be there and thereabouts, but I think but bearing in mind the last game the Irish played was that very narrow loss to New Zealand.
Well, they shot themselves in the foot.
They're
going to
be
loss.
probably up for it.
Committed harikiri.
No.
How do you lose a game with a minute to go with the ball in possession in the opposition 22?
It's possible if you're playing against a side that wants it enough. Don't forget, the Kiwis had a lot at stake as well, and if anyone can hold it together, it's them. So.
Right, predictions. Wales, Italy. I think quite simply Wales will just be too strong for the Italians, who will make a fist of it for about 50 minutes and then get absolutely smashed off the park. But it's going to be untidy. Let's not kid ourselves. It's the first game of the season for these sides, and I'd imagine that they'll be a bit rusty. I'm going to go with a 15-point win for Wales.
Wales by 21.
France, England.
Can we do the other one first? Think about this.
Well, the other one, Ireland, Scotland, should be easy, I reckon. I mean, the Scots will front up nicely in the forwards. They certainly tested the box a few times this year. They may well even be all the better for playing the Springboks as many times as they did in 2013. But I still think Ireland will be too strong for them, and I'm going to go with a 12-point win.
I got Ireland by 18.
Look, England, France, I just think that that French backline with the experience it's got versus those youngsters that have been brought in, in France, after, like you say, Alliance Tour, it's just everything points to France winning.
And the French have got the important thing for me is the English strength is in their forwards. And that's where they're going to be doing all the work. And it's going to be a kicking game. I think they will run it, but I think Farrell will also take as many of the points as he possibly
and
can.
And a chink in the French armour is a fly half on debut.
Yeah. But
fly half that none of us have heard of.
Go France by 8.
England by 2.
Oh.
They're going to sneak it. I'm just doing that one because you
can.
Because it'll work it always works the other way around for me. Awesome, Sharky. I will chat to you next week. Enjoy the rugby this weekend, my friend. I hope you recover and feel better.
Jeez, I'm hurting. I'm going to go sleep right now.
Folks, you've been listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio. We'll be back next Thursday, same time, 4 p.m, streaming on www.loudradio.tv. Chat to you later.